What's up？ 今天是我第12次的口说跟读练习。那今天的内容会到本片的3分30秒，开始喽。
Most distraction, it turns out, is not spurred by the external triggers at all.
Most distraction, it turns out, is not spurred by the external trigger at all.
Most distraction does not start outside of us, but rather starts from within.
Most distraction does not start outside of us, but rather start from within.
The root cause of why we become distracted
The root cause of why we become distracted
is because we feel these internal triggers, these uncomfortable emotional states that we seek to escape.
is because we feel these internal triggers, this uncomfortable emotion state that we seek to escape.
So if we're going to answer Plato's question of why do we get distracted, why?
So if we were gonna answer Plato's questions of why do we get distracted,
Why do we do things against our better judgment?
why do we do things against our better judgment,
We have to start one layer deeper with first principles of why do we do anything.
we have to start one layer deeper with first principle of why do we do anything.
What's the nature of human motivation?
What's the nature of human motivation?
And when you think about it, most people will tell you some version of carrots and sticks.
And when you think about it, most people will tell you some version of carrot and sticks.
That it's about the pursuit of pleasure and the avoidance of pain.
That is about the pursuit of pleasure and the avoidance of pain.
This is Freud's pleasure principle.
This is Freud's pleasure principle.
But neurologically speaking, that's not true.
But neurologically speaking, that's not true.
That in fact we do not do things in the pursuit of pleasure and the avoidance of pain.
That in fact we do not do things in the pursuit of pleasure and the avoidance of pain.
That neurologically speaking,
we only do things for one reason.
we only do things for one reason,
And that is to avoid discomfort.
Physiologically, we know this is true.
Physiologically, we know this is true.
If you go outside and it is cold,
If you go outside and it is cold,
that's not comfortable. What do?
that's not comfortable. What do? You put on a coat.
And when you go back inside, now it's too hot.
And when you go back inside, now it is too hot.
That's not comfortable, you take it off.
That's not comfortable, you take it off.
If you're hungry, you feel hunger pangs, you eat.
If you're hungry, if you're hunger pant, you eat.
And when you're stuffed, oh, that doesn't feel good.
And when you're stuffed, that doesn't feel good.
You stop eating.
You stop eating.
So physiologically, we feel this all the time. This is called the homeostatic response.
So physiologically, we feel this all the time. This is called the homeostatic response.
The same rules apply with psychological sensations, not just with physiological sensations.
The same rules apply with psychological sensations, not just with physiological sensations.
So, when you're feeling lonely, check Facebook.
So, when you're feeling lonely, check Facebook.
When you're uncertain, you Google.
When you're uncertain, you Google.
When you're bored, check the news, check sports scores, check Reddit, Pinterest, whatever.
When you're bored, check the news, check sports scores, check Reddit, Pinterest, whatever.
All of these things cater to these uncomfortable sensations.
All of these things cater to this uncomfortable sensation.
So that means if all human behavior is spurred by a desire to escape discomfort,
So that means if all human behavior is spurred by desire to escape discomfort,
that means that time management is pain management.
that means, as you said, time management is pain management.
Fundamentally, if we don't deal with this fact that we are trying to escape an uncomfortable sensation when we become distracted,
Fundamentally, if we don't deal with this fact that we are trying to escape an uncomfortable sensation when we become distracted.
If we don't understand it and learn new methods to cope with that discomfort,
If we don't understand it and learn new methods to cope with that discomfort,
we're always going to be distracted by one thing or
we're always going to be distracted by one thing or
another.
another.
One of the things that people do that doesn't work is strict abstinence.
One of the things that people do that doesn't work is strict abstinence.
Now, strict abstinence is when you tell yourself, I am not going to do that thing.
And strict abstinence is you tell yourself, I'm not going to do that thing.
And it turns out that strict abstinence, for many behaviors, backfires.
And it turns out strict abstinence for many behaviors backfires,
Particularly behaviors that are very difficult to avoid completely.
particularly behaviors that are very difficult to avoid completely.
How do you abstain from food if you're on a diet? You have to eat it.
How do you abstain from food if you're on diet? You have to eat.
How do you abstain from technology these days?
How do you abstain from technology these days?
I mean, it's imperative to do our jobs. We can't just say, stop using email for 30 days.
I mean, it's imperative to do our job. We cannot abstain from technology these days. We can just say stop using email for 30 days.
You'll lose your job. You'll get fired.
You'll lose your job. You'll get fired.
So, for those type of potential distractions,
So for those type of potential distractions,
we don't want to just abstain. And just to dive into the research is so interesting.
we don't want to just abstain and just to dive in, because I think a research is so interesting.
When we do abstain,
When we do abstain,
when we tell ourselves, no, absolutely not,
when we tell ourselves, no, absolutely not,
it's almost like pulling on a rubber band.
it's almost like pulling on a rubber band.
And when you pull on a rubber band,
And then when you pull on a rubber band,
you stretch,
you stretch,
and you let go.
and you let go.
It doesn't just go back to where you started.
It doesn't just go back to where you started.
It ricochets even further.
It ricochets even further.
And that's what happens when we employ strict abstinence.
And that is what happens when we employ with strict abstinence.
We tell ourselves, don't do it, don't do it, don't.
We tell ourselves, don't do it, don't do it, don't do it, don't do it, don't. Okay, fine, I'll give in. And that sensation of relieving the discomfort,
Of telling yourself not to,
of telling yourself not to,
is itself pleasurable.
it is self-pleasurable.
This is a big reason
This is a big reason
why smokers get addicted to cigarettes.
why smokers get addicted to cigarettes.
What gets them to keep smoking?
What gets them to keep smoking?
Not only the physiological effects of the nicotine.
It's not only the physiological effect of the nicotine.
What more so gets them addicted
What more so get them addicted
is telling themselves, don't do it, don't do it, don't.
is telling themselves, don't do it, don't do it, don't do it.
Finally, I smoke, and now I'm relieved of
Finally, I smoke, and now I'm relieved of
the discomfort of having to tell myself,
the discomfort of having to tell myself, don't
don't.
do it.
So strict abstinence
So strict abstinence oftentimes
oftentimes backfires.
backfires.
Because when we finally do give in,
We are wiring our neural circuitry.
we are wiring our new circuitry
To expect, when I feel the discomfort of, to expect, oh, when I feel the discomfort of
not wanting something,
not wanting something,
giving in makes it feel so pleasurable.
giving in make it feel so pleasurable.
Not because the behavior itself is pleasurable,
Not because the behavior itself is pleasurable,
but because it relieves us of the discomfort.
But it relieving the discomfort of telling ourselves no. OK， 今天就到这了哦，拜拜。